Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
And we're the Rambling Reviewers.
And we're here looking at Stargate,
Yes.
which is quite a big franchise to be looking at all in one episode.
Okay, yeah, which is why we're splitting this up into two episodes. The first episode will be dealing with the original movie. The one that started it all.
Yes.
Started it.
I remember this.
Stargated it all. Chevrons locked. Yeah.
No,
But,
I remember seeing the ad for this so many times. It was some VHS tape that we had. I forget what it was, but they just didn't tell you anything except the basic premise. You know, we opened a gate to them, and now I finally seen the movie. Though I saw the series first, of course. I've seen so many episodes of the series, so now I've finally seen the movie. And so how does it work as a movie by itself?
Well, that's really what we're here to discuss.
That's why I
As
asked.
it's... Well, I thought it was like a rhetorical question, but, I was giving the...
Yeah, go ahead.
But anyways, as itself, it's a good movie.
It's all right. Yeah.
It's nothing like Wrath of Khan, or,
No, yeah.
and it's certainly nothing like Equestrian Girls or, oh God, Last Airbender. But then again, that's setting the bar low. But
Yeah.
it's still a good movie.
Yeah, so I'll give it a B, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
B, A-, with some added bonuses for those of you who are fans of Stargate. Now, obviously, they didn't realize that there was going to be an entire series based off of this movie, so they changed a few things, like little rules.
when they made the series, yeah.
Like, for example, Ra's race is depicted to look very similar to, the Roswell Greys.
Yeah.
Ra as in the sun god.
Yeah.
Well, this actually got kind of completely thrown out the window. Later in the we'll discuss the series more.
Because there's gonna be a bunch of stuff to talk about series. So pretend we didn't know the series, and because originally this was meant to be a single movie.
Okay, well, it was kind of weird when Ra suddenly transformed into his alien form when he'd been taking his human form the whole movie at the end.
He had infected a human like a parasite, and then oh wait, I turned into an alien again. Right?
Yeah, which I don't really get.
Just as
If
I'm
he was like an
blowing up.
energy, if he was an energy being of some sort, or
Yeah.
like a ghost,
Yeah.
maybe that could have worked a little better, but it didn't really feel that way. Some people have said in the past that this movie has some uncomfortable mighty whitey attitudes. Where,
We do go to another planet, and we save everybody there from their eternal slavery, but they've suffered that for 10,000 years and never got around to overthrowing the guy like we did.
Yeah, because we kick ass.
I guess.
And I would like to say that the people who kicked ass in the original, who originally kicked ass, the ones who kicked Ra off of Earth, were ancient Egyptians. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
Black power. The black people were the ones who originally won.
Right. But I guess Asia. Because it's on the border of Middle East. It's not straight up black, is it?
Well.
It's like a blend of something. I don't know skin tones really. What do I know?
Yeah, whatever. So. Yeah, the movie starts out with Daniel Jackson giving a speech, and he's regarded insane because he says, the pyramids are older than we know. And because of this, he's whisked off to Creek Mountain, which is an XP of Cheyenne Mountain.
Which gets back to the series.
Yeah, but it later becomes Cheyenne Mountain.
Whatever.
In the
Basically,
series.
he's
Whatever.
brought up in this secret government program, and it turns out they found this ancient alien artifact. It's a big ring, and it can take you to other planets if you know how to work it. And they don't know how to work it because they don't speak ancient Egyptian. So they bring in an ancient Egyptian guy.
Well, a guy who speaks ancient Egyptian. They didn't have they didn't contact the doctor and say, "Okay, we need you to kidnap we need you to kidnap King Tut."
So they bring him in, and there's a lot of this movie that just doesn't quite add up.
But it feels like a summer movie. Yeah, some of the things don't add up, but if you just go with it, it works.
It wasn't meant
generally.
to be taken quite that seriously. It's like, this is just kind of cool, kind of a ride. Yeah, just deal with it type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for instance, they don't know how to understand these certain symbols they found on their big gate thing, and there's also these tablets they have, and he figures out, oh, they're constellations.
Yeah, but as I said, constellations move over time.
Right, it's been 10,000 years.
Yeah, the Big Dipper didn't always look like it used to, and I'm not just talking about the fact that the Earth's axis wobbles a little bit. So like, what we consider the pole star now, Polaris, will not always, and has not always, been the North Star.
Right.
The constellations do change shape. Granted, it's very, very slowly,
Mm-hmm.
but still, it's not something
Right.
static.
And then more to the point, he's like, well, the way it works is you have 6 of these, and they make pairs, and
And-
each pair is a line, and then the 3 lines intersect, and they tell you a point of 3D space. But constellations don't exist at a single point in 3D space. They're actually separated by very long, distances.
And more to the point, constellations are basically human constructs to impose order on the chaos of the star systems, as well as impose our values upon them.
Which would be kind of okay if you're just talking about, some humans made these constellations, but A, they drift, and B, cultural things change how you draw those lines. So it would be hard to know what lines to draw among the stars there are.
And if it's
you
clear
have the
enough,
symbols
you
already,
can,
but
you can point to like any random grouping of stars if it's clear enough out and say, oh, this looks like a bunny.
Yeah.
This looks like Orion, and it could
Right.
functionally be like a very similar constellation to Orion, but
Right.
it's just different stars.
And for some reason, we have the 7th symbol, which is where you came from, which doesn't seem necessary, really. It's like if you get into a GPS, and you're like, where am I going? Beep, beep, beep. Where are you now? Why would you need to know that? You're the GPS.
I personally think of it as like the enter key in.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
And
assume it just has like a weird, setup.
And there are like in the series, there are scenes where they do dial more than 6 symbols
Right.
into it before hitting the enter key, like extragalactic ones, or Stargate Universe had the 9th thing.
Once again, back into the series.
But hey, I'm just trying to explain plot holes here, and
Yeah.
the best way I can think of is to reference the series that later sprung out of this.
Right. So yeah, and then like, okay, we'll send a probe through, and they send a probe through, and they're like, oh, there's different symbols on the other side of the gate. We'll need to figure out those symbols. And Daniel Jackson, you can go through because you speak Egyptian. You can figure this out.
Which brings us to another problem. One, why didn't they just have the probe scan all the symbols while it was on over there?
Yeah, and then he could just read them from Earth and decipher them, and then hand the instructions to the Marines.
And I gotta, yeah, I'm bringing up the series a lot, but in the series, they establish a Stargate can stay open for 39 minutes. Or 38 minutes.
Well, you can't complain about, if anything, that's a plot hole of the series, in a sense. Because if they establish in this movie that Stargate only lasts like 2 minutes, which it did, then the fact that it was changed later, well, you can't retroactively say, oh, they should have psychically known what they were going to do a series in the future, and they were going to change it.
Yeah, it's just that whatever.
Yeah, they could have sent in multiple probes, though. If they each last
Yeah.
2 minutes, just keep building probes.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it might get a little crowded in there. Like I'm just imagining them all. It's like they're all crammed in there.
Send a
Okay,
bulldozer.
climb over the first 2 probes.
Send in a bulldozer eventually. Cram all the probes against the
To see
wall.
Rock coming in, he's just like, okay, now to see who dumped all these probes on my front door. Oh, come on, guys. Look, I have 2 expectations for you slaves. 1, you continue to be slaves, and 2, you keep my place nice and clean. I don't think this is too difficult, guys.
Right. So then he, and also they're sending him through because he knows the Egyptian hieroglyphics, except it's not a language he's interpreting.
It's stellar cartography.
Right. It's pictograms of stars. It's constellations. So what you need actually is an astronomer who can somehow figure out what the constellations ought to look like from whatever vantage point we're making them look like over which time periods. Blah blah blah.
And which still wouldn't help much, considering they established in the opening scenes that this takes place in another galaxy.
Yeah, you need to be one hell of an astronomer to figure this out.
That's not an astronomer. That's Superman
Yes.
or the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, more like Guardians of the Universe.
Let's see. So next
So that didn't quite
next
make
what
sense.
happens is everyone starts being a dick to Daniel
I
because
know.
he isn't capable of achieving the frickin' impossible.
Uh,
And this strikes me as especially stupid. Yeah, let's damage his stuff that he desperately needs in order to help us get home.
Yeah, there was this guys acting like bullies. It's kind of dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I get it. Oh, you're upset that you can't go home immediately. You
Yeah.
thought this would be a very quick mission,
Yeah.
for which I question why you thought that when it took 2 years to decipher all of this and enter the correct coordinates. Furthermore, it took Daniel Jackson 2 weeks to stumble upon the correct thing, and that's with the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the essential revelation still is in his brain. Hey, look, they're stellar coordinates. But yeah, he's not an astronomer, so I don't know how
And
he's
they
doing
openly state, hey, I don't know any of these symbols. They're completely different from the gate back on Earth.
that. Yeah, I
So,
don't know.
what were they thinking? Like, okay, so he did it with known symbols and cliff notes in 2 weeks. Surely he can do this with completely unknown. This is like doing an easy Sudoku and then saying, okay, that was way too easy. I'm going to do the super hard one where
Well,
there's only
yeah.
3 numbers.
As far as I'm aware, they never even established the thing was one way. I mean, just the sort of vaguely, that one military guy's like, nope, if they dial from Earth, we can't get back. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, I know in the series it's established, but as far as the movie itself, it looks like you could go back. Especially because at the beginning, Daniel's like, put his hand through a little, and then draws it back out again, which gives you the impression, even if it's not true, that it goes both ways.
They actually do that in other episodes of the series. It's only when something is completely through does it dematerialize it.
But just seeing the movie, you would think it's a door. It goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of vague. Why couldn't it like, oh, Earth will dial again in 1 hour and we'll be fine. You know, nobody thought of that.
And also nobody, like, they finally opened it for the first time, and they immediately sent through a probe. Okay, that's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But then they, like, say, okay, now we're going to send in a bunch of men. You're not even going to send through, like, a dandelion first? You're not going to send...
See if organic matter can survive the trip, yeah.
Heck, Farscape played with this. Like, if you weren't using the right type of ship to go through a wormhole, you would melt.
Yeah.
That's not even like kidding or anything.
Yeah.
Like they would open the cockpit, there was no pilot inside, but this purple goo with the viscosity of like soap from a soap dispenser would start spilling out.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
I believe you. Yeah.
No, I know you believe me. It's just I'm just adding that for emphasis.
Ah.
So yeah, they don't even test it to see if it's safe for humans.
Yeah. No, at the same time, I can see, like, okay, you know, realistically, they'd spend, like, 6 months just throwing random crap through it, having meetings with the president, and all this stuff we didn't really want to see. So this is one of those, as we said earlier, like, stuff didn't quite add up, but you were like, okay, whatever. I get it.
Yeah. Also, the one thing that I thought was pretty silly was... They're able to tell the atmospheric composition, but they aren't capable of telling that the gate comes out on the other side. It is 100 and ball melting degrees.
It's a desert out there. They didn't have desert gear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
it was inside, but they should have sent the probe outside.
They should have sent the probe more than like 3 feet from the gate.
Yeah.
Although, you know, I am kind of impressed at the probe because there were stairs there, and I'm just picturing the probe like just... It knows it. The rest of the footage is just it lying upside down.
I just want to know how the probe told them its location. Like,
Yeah,
I figured out my galactic coordinates in a different galaxy from inside this stone building.
Yeah, humans have never had, like, FTL travel in this... Okay, humans from Earth have never gone beyond the moon.
Yeah.
So how are you capable of stellar cartography, capable of telling you're in another galaxy?
I mean, where do you even get I don't even know. Whatever. So that didn't quite add up either. Lots of science didn't add up.
You're going through a wormhole to another planet where there are humans and aliens that take over bodies. There was science... This is a summer blockbuster movie. A lot of science just takes a little bit of a vacation.
Yeah. But one thing I did like, though, was design.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Ra's ship coming down over the other pyramid.
That was...
cool and very imposing.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. They
Although
spent their time on it.
Though I did make the joke, hey, dude, I heard you like pyramids, so I put a pyramid on your pyramid so you can sarcophagus while you sarcophagus.
Right.
But, yeah, everything Ra did exuded this quiet menace that was very... Okay, a lot of things he did.
Yeah, not everything, but several things he did. Yeah. Especially when it wasn't on
menace.
screen, just the ship, you know.
Yeah, and it was very menacing, very quiet. A lot of bad guys tend to lack that. They either go for large ham, or they overplay the subtle thing to the point where you can't even really tell.
Mainly the large ham.
I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't a large ham.
He did the whole "you have failed me for the last time" thing, you know.
And then he melted a guy's brain on screen.
On screen. Well, as far as a brain can be on screen, you know what I mean.
Well,
the guy's face was on screen while his brain was not because it was behind a skull. But anyway.
Yeah. Let's see. So they...
And then they go over and they find the...
they find the mine for the mineral that the Stargate is made out of.
Right.
And this is intended to imply that Ra was the one who created the Stargate.
Yep.
But, I'm just going to call it the mineral Naquita because, yes, it's from the series, but it gives the mineral a friggin' name.
Yep, that's nice.
Discover the Naquita mine, and everyone starts worshipping the white people. And it gets uncomfortable. But then it's revealed that the reason that they're worshipping them is Daniel received a gift from the woman who brought him on the project.
Yeah.
She apparently stole.
Oh yeah, we love this because she's a kid. She's like 10 years old, 12 years old, something in Egypt at the beginning, and it's like the 1940s.
1928.
28. It was even earlier. Wow, she's old.
Yeah.
And she's
looking at this.
I think it's meant to be like she gets a locket from this vendor, but we don't see her pay.
So he and I were making jokes the whole movie that like the whole reason she wanted to go to this other planet was so that the Egyptian government couldn't find her for stealing.
She like gives it, okay, get this, and then like Ra looks at it later, and we're like narrating Ra's thoughts. The Egyptian government's been looking for this. I'll have to send it back to them.
Catherine Langford, that thief!
Yeah.
Langfield,
So I like that they have
Ooh.
language barrier, and here we go mentioning the series again, because there is no language barrier in the series. Everyone in the universe speaks English.
Okay, well, I grant they had a limited budget. They couldn't do a lot of the stuff that... I mean, they couldn't build up like a whole Klingon dictionary.
Yeah, I get that.
For
and it would have been annoying if we had to like relearn the language every time. But it was nice that for once we get to actually struggle with the language, and you were like, trying to figure out what they were saying, and
they even gave like a good reason. Like even though Daniel Jackson knows what written ancient Egyptian looks like, no one has spoken ancient Egyptian for
thousands of years
since ancient Egypt.
Yeah,
and even more. The language has mutated over several thousand millennia.
Yeah.
Well, several thousand years, not several thousand millennia.
Yeah.
That's a lot of... That's like the
Alterans. That's millions of years, actually. Thousands of millions.
That's like the Alterans from the series. But moving on.
Honestly, after 10,000 years, a language should change so completely as to not even matter where it came from.
Yeah,
Imagine someone who knew, like, ancient Greek, and somehow, therefore, he can speak English.
Okay, I would normally grant you that.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine the immortal king would want the language to stay the same.
Yeah, that's possible.
He seemed hedonistic enough to want to order everyone to do whatever his slightest whim was.
And granted, they did like point out, that he had to learn it. It took him just a couple hours though. It was like he's learning. I'm thinking he's gonna be fluent by the end of this conversation.
Which, okay, it was also justified. This language isn't really new to him.
It's new to. Yeah, it's true.
It's slightly new to him.
Yeah.
Granted, it's still really fast. I mean, you can know, but I've heard of people who speak French being able to speak Spanish pretty quickly, just because they have very similar languages.
Right, but not in the course of a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that hasn't been spoken since ever.
Yeah.
So they go to the village, and because they think that Daniel is a servant of Ra because he's wearing the necklace, and Ra hasn't shown up yet, they say, oh, crap, he's a servant of Ra, and they start treating him and the other guys like, well, kings.
Yeah. And then he suddenly gets a wife out of it.
Yeah. I mean, granted... I don't think they handled the romance too badly.
It was, they knew well enough not to dwell on it when they didn't have much to say.
I mean, yes, it's your standard summer romance thing where... summer movie romance thing, not summer romance,
Yeah, no.
Boy makes theories about pyramids, gets sent through a wormhole to another galaxy, boy meets girl,
we've all seen
girl's
it.
a slave, and then they team up to take down an alien despotic overlord.
And they wind up nuking him in his spaceship as it's in orbit, which apparently doesn't leave any debris. That's good.
Yeah. But anyway, so they find...
But basically, they exchange a few looks. At first, like, she's presented to him as a gift, and then he's, like, weirded out by it, but then later he kisses her anyway because she feels kind of upset that she was rejected. And then by the end, he's like, you know what, screw Earth, I'm just going to live here forever. Got my wife, and I've saved the whole world, so I'm in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, he's pretty much going to live like a king for the rest of his life.
I just wonder what he's going to do the next time he gets, like, freaking pneumonia or something, and they haven't invented antibiotics on this planet.
Okay, but, so during the celebration, Ra shows up in this, amazingly badass scene where this huge pyramid ship just descends onto the stone pyramid, and it is...
It's pretty cool.
The Goa'uld may suck, but they know how to do things in style.
Yeah, yeah.
So apparently we have a bit of a Predator knockoff scene where these half-naked guys in giant robot wolf masks,
Yep.
I am so not even kidding,
Yep.
go around and take out trained military soldiers.
Yeah, like you couldn't hear their footsteps or something. It's meant to imply they're like super fast or something.
But
It's
that
kind
isn't
of
really
vague.
that isn't really carried out for the rest of the movie.
Right, and then Ra has this weird policy of like whenever there's 4 or 5 people invading his turf, he kills 3 or 4 of them, and then randomly selects 1 or 2 more as prisoners. I don't know why. He just does it that way.
Yeah, he's kind of weird like that.
It's kind of weird. Like, and then he select the prisoners, he didn't kill the prisoners, and then that ends up getting screwed for him.
But anyway, so there's a sandstorm, and when they head back, they find the soldiers find, oh wait, there's a spaceship pyramid on top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which apparently has no perimeter defenses.
Yeah.
Everyone can just walk right up to that pyramid.
Yeah.
There's like 4 guards in the whole ship, and it's the size of a pyramid. It must be heavily automated.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see any engineers, we didn't see any technicians.
Yeah.
Although, granted, most of the spaces we saw on the ship were Ra's pimptacular harem
Right.
pleasure
Most
zone.
of the people we saw on that ship were his creepy little group of boys that were hardly dressed,
Yeah.
whom we apparently nuked at the end without realizing it.
Yeah, so anyways, after meeting Ra and creepiness, he sends out 2 bombers to attack the city for no reason.
Well, because he hates them. Because they like Jackson.
Yeah, whatever. And then he captures Jackson.
Oh, no, because we brought a freaking nuke to his house. That's why.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, yeah, he discovered that we had a nuke with us. Okay, yeah, so O'Neill is all like, all right, my orders were clear. If I find any signs of danger, I have to nuke this whole place.
Which makes no sense. I mean, any signs of danger? Maybe you want to specify those orders a little more, you know?
Yeah.
So, any signs of, like, a hostile intelligence
Oh
that
god,
could
it's a
destroy the
scorpion,
Earth.
yeah.
Oh god, a scorpion! A rock I could trip over! And the sun's really hot! We could get sunstroke! Oh god, this planet is made of danger! Detonate the nuke before the sun can get through!
Yeah, the different O'Neill than the series. I'm not talking about the series. But
Yeah.
he's less funny this way.
They even actually that in the
Referenced it
series.
yeah.
But, okay, so apparently Ra knows enough about United States military munitions to be able to deconstruct a nuclear bomb
Figure out what it is.
and upgrade it to the point where it can be 100 times more powerful.
Which still isn't a threat to the human race, really. I was pointing out, if that bomb is the strength of Hiroshima and you blow it up at 100 strength, that's going to suck for the U.S., but the rest of our species will be okay.
Yeah, well, until the nuclear winter from the metric
Right, but
gigatons of
That's still
ash
only
and dust in the
100
air.
nukes. I mean, the nuclear winter is in the Cold War scenario of thousands of nukes. It's
Yeah.
a whole order of magnitude higher.
Okay. We're not advocating
Yeah,
that,
we
but-
don't advocate nuclear winter. I think we should have a T-shirt that says that.
Yes.
We don't advocate nuclear. Just so you know, vote for us.
We don't advocate nuclear winter.
Or nuclear summer, for that matter, or any other season you may have.
We do support nuclear families, by which we mean families with radioactive powers.
Would that be like that fake styrofoam family in Indiana Jones 4? Would that be?
I don't know. Let's see. So, anyways,
So, yeah, he doesn't
They-
kill any of our main characters. That's nice.
oh, wait, no, I didn't get that part. Daniel Jackson gets captured, and Ross says, "Yeah, I hate all of you. You're advancing way beyond what I thought you could."
He doesn't actually say that. He just says, I hate you.
Well, he says you've advanced far.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Alright, fine.
But anyway, so he says, okay, to make a lesson, I'm going to have, you're going to kill your friends. To which we said, yeah, he's not going to do that. Then Rock continued saying, or I will kill the entire village.
Yeah, which
Which
has
he
got
said,
thousands
"Oh,
of people.
okay, that's actually
something.
that's a better threat.
Yeah. Though, he hands Daniel a weapon, and I'm like, Daniel, this would be a great time to turn around and shoot Ra. Guess what he does? Turns around and misses, but attempts to shoot Ra.
Yeah, they do lampshade in the series. The weapons, the staff weapons, are horrible.
How does that change anything about whether he would shoot Ra with? Oh, about the aiming.
Missing,
Okay.
yes.
I just
they're
figured
big. They're big, heavy staffs. You
Yeah.
cannot aim them.
I just
well.
figured he sucks at aiming because he's not a military guy.
No, anyone sucks at aiming when firing a staff weapon. They're gigantic,
Yeah.
long, and heavy.
Yeah, very hard to conceal too.
Yeah.
But it all works. with the
Unless you
feet.
have like something like like the Minbari force pikes where they just collapse into little cylinders.
Those are cool.
Yeah, or Mass Effect weapons where they fold up, but different series. Do not care.
Yeah.
Then there's a big riot. The guards start shooting everything. And by the way, none of the prisoners have handcuffs or restraints of any kind.
Yeah.
At any point, they could have run off into the crowd, and the crappy aim of the guards would have missed them all.
Yeah, a lot of things like this just sort of add up.
So they run off, and they get lost in a sandstorm, and then these kids that have been hanging around them the whole time find them.
Basically, we end up fighting.
And they fight, 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 and they fight.
And then we arm the nuke. He's all like, I love this. He walks in, he's like, I've armed the nuke. You've got 7 minutes to dial the Stargate. How long does it take to dial the Stargate? We haven't actually done it from this. It actually takes 8 minutes. Oh, crap.
Yeah, and like, how about you ready the nuke after they've gone through?
That'd be nice. Yeah.
So
it ends up turns out they've like rigged the nuke and you can't disarm it. He's like he flips the switch to like turn it off
meaning
later.
that it takes like barely an hour for Ra to be able to reverse engineer a nuclear warhead, upgrade it, and then booby trap it so that it can't be turned off.
Actually, I thought he meant the Earth forces had rigged it that way. So like if he had second thoughts about protecting the nation, he would just blow up anyway.
Oh. Well, actually, that would make more sense. You don't want your enemy finding the nuke and
figuring out how to nuke things.
Though, given Ra is capable of nuking things, you got to wonder why he doesn't, use them.
Yeah, also, given that he was capable of showing up on Earth in a spaceship 10,000 years ago, you got to wonder why he doesn't just do that more often.
Yeah, I mean, the rebellion against Ra didn't really make sense. I mean, a bunch of guys with some scavenged staff rifles and some other Goa'uld weapons and some pitchforks and torches are they're gonna do so well against
the friggin' spaceship
fighters and bombers.
And just like repeatedly land the spaceship on them.
Well, that wouldn't work. It's got a big open section, so it can land on the pyramid.
It's true.
We're okay.
But yeah, and in 10,000 years, the Goa'uld have a real medieval stasis problem. 10,000 years, and we're still doing the same stuff.
They actually do start to get better over the course of the series. But again,
that's the
series.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else has...
So,
we forgot to mention, O'Neill is a lot less jolly than in his...
Oh, we mentioned.
Okay, but part of that is because his son committed suicide accidentally. Okay,
Is that still called suicide? He accidentally killed himself.
Yeah, with a gun.
Playing with a gun, his father's gun or something like that.
Yeah, so this whole movie, O'Neill is this massive hard ass, and it's pretty justifiable, and he doesn't want any of the kids playing with his weapons, which
makes sense.
Yeah.
Though eventually they do end up playing with their weapons, and nobody shoots themselves, so yay for bad lessons to teach children.
Yes, children, remember this. If your parents are ever in danger, pick up a gun and run after them.
Oh, man.
Ugh. Yeah, so he's kind of got a death wish, this whole movie. But he gets better at the end because we send a nuke back up and blow Ra to hell.
It's a great way to relieve stress. I think that's one of the therapy techniques they list lower on the brochure. Have you blown up a spaceship today? Try that.
Really, that would make my day. Although O'Neill gets possibly the best one-liner in the series. Well, no, anywhere. Okay, he's fighting one of Ra's guards, and this whole time they've had this whole ancient Egypt feel to them.
Yeah.
Ra, and he's about to decapitate Ra's guard's head with a teleporter.
Right.
So he slams down the button to activate the teleporter and says, "Give my regards to King Tut." And then the guy gets his head teleported off.
Along with the bomb. Right.
No,
the bomb is a little later. Okay, but later they use the same technique for the bomb.
Seriously,
so.
Anytime you can say, "Give my regards to King Tut," that's an opportunity you should take.
Yeah,
that's
just cool.
That's just so over the top an 80s one-liner. It's just great.
And he's got the hair for it too. So
I kept joking that Daniel Jackson in this movie has really long hair and is not overly masculine. So my joke was, it's Duke Nukem and his wife.
Yeah. Yeah, fun stuff. So yeah, and then there was basically the end. We went home, and we're gonna dismantle the Stargate from the other side, leaving Daniel Jackson stranded here forever.
Until, pneumonia sets in,
Or whatever else you get in the desert. I don't know.
or
Sand fleas or something.
they've had their own. Trust me,
Fly.
the Abydosians have been on their own for 10,000 years, with their own unique culture, unique animals.
And unique lack of antibiotics.
Well, no, I wasn't going to say that. I mean, they probably have their own individual cures to diseases, none of which he has ever had exposure to in the slightest.
Yeah.
Also, he has a bunch of diseases that they have no exposure to in the slightest.
Yeah.
Also, I like how he's apparently all set on marrying Charé, his new Abydosian wife.
Yeah.
We were sort of making jokes about how the space STDs. Yep.
That would be something.
This is Daniel Jackson. You don't want to be Daniel Jackson. He screams when he pees now.
Oh, man.
Oh, come on. Who knows what kind of strange stuff is out there.
So this is just, I know, there's something to be said about the attitude of a show. And I don't know, I need to find better ways to describe it, but sometimes a show can take itself really seriously, and when it has these failings, you're like, what the heck, that's not adding up, stop being so dramatic about this stuff. But this was, again, the summer movie type of sci-fi, isn't this kind of cool, fun, you need some ideas, doesn't quite add up, whatever, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it was okay.
It was a good movie. It wasn't like one of the greats that you'll talk about for the end of time.
I mean, remember how we felt about Blood and Chrome recently, and whoa, isn't that cool? And this is, even though that was just a self-contained story, didn't have the range that the full series by necessarily the time scale series would have.
Correct.
But still had more depth to it than this. But this is still okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Join us next time when. Wait, are we done?
Yeah.
Okay. Join
Now.
us later this week when we show off our Stargate retrospective.
All right. See you later.
This is Sith King.
And Sonic Sons.
And we're signing off.